What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Tonight, we're talking Agatha All Along, Episode 4, and The Penguin, Episode 3. But before we get into all of that fun, Dave, Doug, how's it going, gentlemen?
Well, Keith, I am fan-freaking-tastic as usual. I have been busy as hell, and I just don't see an end in sight until maybe November. It's crazy. It's been crazy last couple months, and I'd say while I'm in the middle of it, it's very pressuring, you know. I can't wait till after November 1st. I get a little break from all of it, and then I'll be like, why aren't I doing more? So I'll complain either way. So yeah, it's been great, and I'm watching these two shows this week, and there's clearly, it's like I don't know what shows we were balancing against each other last time that were one was so good and one was so okay, but that's what I feel like I'm watching here. I feel like I'm
Back when
watching.
we were watching The Acolyte and whatever else we were watching.
Yeah, what was
Yeah,
with the
what?
accolade?
Yeah, that was so recent too. What's
I
wrong with
know.
us?
Wow, what was it?
We're old men. While Doug's looking that up. Yes, that's what I felt like this week. I just like I'll explain when we get into the shows, but yeah, I'm a lot happier to see one of them than the other.
I think we
And I
all
was
feel
gonna
that
say
way.
something. Yeah, I was gonna say something about that movie last week too, the Joker. I
Ugh.
mean, I wasn't very excited to see it, and I was even less happy that I did. Yeah, I've seen so many other reviews, and everybody is panning this film, and it's not just us. And when we pan it, you know it's got to be bad because
Yeah,
we make that effort to like everything.
we're pretty forgiving for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know if
There's
you saw
not a
this,
lot.
but there was a clip of Joaquin Phoenix going up to Lady Gaga, I think at the premiere at Cannes,
Hmm.
and it looks like he says, "Oh my God, it's horrible." It was kind of going viral,
Oh,
too.
shit.
Mini viral today, on like, and I saw that and I'm like, okay, well, at least he knows it too. So I feel a little better that I was so
Yeah,
dismissive of it.
it's pretty. I gotta say, it kind of warms the black hole that used to be my heart whenever I hear an actor or actress admit, like, "Oh yeah, that movie is trash." Like when Sydney Sweeney and what's the name were like going around on tour, like saying,
Dakota Johnson.
yeah, Dakota Johnson, like, "Oh yeah, and you definitely didn't see me in Madam Web," and like it was a terrible movie. Do you know anything about the characters? No.
Like when they asked Michael Caine about Jaws 3 in 3D, they said, "Hey, have you seen the film?" He said, "No, but I saw the house it bought me." So,
There you go, right?
okay, whatever.
One of the actors from
So,
Morbius said the same thing. They said, "Why did you agree to be in Morbius?" He said, "Because it paid more than any other movie I've ever been in." And I was like,
Um,
good for you.
Roll Julia in Street Fighter.
Yep.
Same kind of thing. He was like, my kids wanted me to be in it. They liked Street Fighter, and it was a good paycheck.
yep. I mean, that's really what that's what it's about sometimes,
Mhm,
unfortunately for us.
mhm.
Well, before I dive too deep into these shows, Doug, how are you doing, man?
Well, Dave, let me tell you, I am outstanding. I'm also equally like crazy busy. It's nuts how much I got going on, but I'm holding it together pretty darn good. And
Mhm.
I just gotta say, I am so proud of you two. Yeah,
What did we do?
we started the stream and you didn't even start talking about sports. Just good job, guys.
By the way, the Bears yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. Go
You're
ahead.
my special little pals.
Well, if we were streaming last night, we would have talked about sports. So we had that extra day for you.
Thank you.
Doug's going to like streaming with the Penguin because we'll stream on Mondays. And
Right.
unless Monday Night Football is Packers versus Bears, we won't talk much sports ball.
Right. Right. The
Uh,
penguin, right?
Penguin.
So I went and I looked to see
Penguin.
what we were watching when The Acolyte was airing. It was The Boys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How can the voice can't be bad? So that's
Well,
fine.
not this season, but the season before was pretty close to average. Wherever.
And
it
then
was.
right after that, it was House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah.
And I think we were talking about how good House of the Dragon was in comparison to we were really we were really not not pleased with the Acolyte. It could have been so much
We weren't feeling
Hey
it.
Doug.
Yeah.
No.
Doug, can I interrupt for one moment?
Of course.
The chat just
just
wants
did.
you to know. Well, the Cowboys did defeat the Steelers last night. Thank you, Brad. We appreciate that. Anytime we can talk sports ball. Little known fact: Dak Prescott, the quarterback for the Cowboys, set a record yesterday. First person to throw 2 interceptions in the same game on different days.
Oh, it was after midnight.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And as a Packers
Well,
fan, I
that's
was rooting for the
right.
Steelers, but oh well.
I was rooting for the Steelers as well, just because I still like Justin Fields. But we can't do this to Doug. So, what do you got to say, Doug?
Well, here's what I got to say. Keith, sir, how are you doing?
You want to know? I am tremendous. And why am I tremendous, you ask? That's because Kerry Carpenter hit a 3-run homer in the top of the 9th for the Tigers to beat the Guardians in Game 2 of the ALDS. Oh, sorry. I mean, we got some shows to watch this week. And, much like Dave, I'm enjoying both. But there is definitely one that is light years ahead in quality than the other. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I think if we were watching these separately at different times, I'd probably enjoy the one a little bit more because I wouldn't be comparing it to the other one. But we should probably get started. What should we talk about first tonight, gentlemen? The
Let's
Penguin?
do Agatha first. We got to end on a high note.
I like that.
I agree with Dave.
All right, well, let's talk Agatha. This week's episode 4 of season 1. If I can't reach you, let my song teach you.
Clever title. I mean, it basically spelled out what happened. It was so you didn't even have to watch the show after that. You just got the title and that was it.
There were some things you needed to watch the show for. Now, once again, while I admit this
Yeah,
isn't
like Aubrey Plaza's costume.
Yeah, she was back and
giddy up.
Yeah.
But even little things like when she said, "So I can collect the bodies,"
Mm-hmm.
very much sounding like Lady Death.
You suck their power, I collect their bodies.
Yep.
And when she saw the ladies after saying that, she had no apology to her. She didn't care.
Oh, the best was when what's her name was like, "And don't think I forgot what you said in there," and she was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, "That's all. That was worth the 40 minutes I put into that
New
show."
meme.
It's a new meme.
Yeah, I think that would be funny. By the way, just showing anybody on the stream my VR. Buy one, please.
Oh,
I beg you
yeah,
guys.
that's a VR
If you're
headset.
watching this, please buy a VR.
Okay.
MetaQuest 2 or MetaQuest 3S.
Okay, they all said they're buying them. Thanks, buddy.
No problem. You always see
You still got reading to do tonight, so don't forget to do your reading.
So is that our sponsor of tonight's video?
Yes, tonight's
Yeah.
sponsor is the MetaQuest 3S. When okay, dude, Sully, you got to be careful, dude. You can't trip all over the wires.
Ashley, that sponsors all MetaQuests.
Okay, buddy.
Also PS5s. And also Astrobot on the PS5.
Thanks, buddy.
Mario on the PS4.
All right, so getting back to Agatha after our little side hustle there.
So
and
I keep going back and forth on like I'm leaning more towards what you said that you think that Aubrey Plaza's character might be Lady Death, but I keep going back and forth on it because is she a witch or is she Lady Death? Like I can't imagine she'd be both, right?
well, you can be both because think about it. When she said, "Oh, are you another green witch?" I am the Green Witch. Kind of also
Okay.
hinted that, she's more than just an average witch. And the fact that I also think, earlier when they were talking to Agatha, and they said, how many witches made it out the last time with you? She was like, one. At first, I thought she said, I was the only one that made it out. And I'm like, okay, Dave's theory.
I thought that she said too.
I'm like, Dave's theory of a witch dying every episode is definitely going to happen. But then I rewatched it, and she said only one other witch got out, which makes me think that was Rio.
Probably. Yeah, I could see that.
And that's why she's like, hey, you steal their powers, I collect the bodies, just like last time, am I right? So, I mean, and then the only, like Dave said, this is going to sound meaner than I wanted to, but it's kind of a paint-by-numbers episode. It was just very, okay, we're here, here's our test, this is what we got to do, we're done.
Yeah, it was like very, and everything that happened to me seemed like an and then thing, not something like they planned out ahead of time. When they got there, they said, all right, now what should happen? Okay, let's have this happen. The whole episode felt like that. And I started to wonder, what is the overall point of the show? Where is it going? Where is it supposed to take this character? Where is it headed towards? And is
Dave,
it
I have the answer for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
The point of the show is for people to subscribe to Disney Plus and give Disney their money. There you go.
Well,
and while you're subscribing to Disney Plus, also give us a subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. It greatly helps the channel. We do have a question from the chat. Are you ready, gentlemen? It's from Stefano. So what exactly is a green witch? That is an earth-based witch power. So that's why. Yeah. That's why they thought Sharon was a green witch, because she did so well with her flowers, like having a green thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So Aubrey Plaza's character being Lady Death would make sense, being a kind of earth witch, because the bodies get buried in the earth and she kind of takes them. So at least that's what I think.
Everybody knows that human corpses do make the best fertilizer.
That is true. And Dave, in answer to your question, the reason we're having this show is so Agatha can be repowered. And there's probably going to be a little more stuff to come out after. We're probably, I think once again, the end of this show when Rio tells Agatha he's not your son. I do think it's pushing it more towards Wiccan. It's going to be the Scarlet Witch's son, or who she thinks is her son, however they're going to play in the MCU. And once she finds that out, she may have been the one that put the sigil on him, because she even said in this episode, I didn't do it, it's clumsy, yada yada, but I wouldn't know, because when he cast it, you don't know. And she may have cast that on him just so she would help him, not knowing who he is, and not let any of her hatred and anger towards the Scarlet Witch cloud that, because she probably knows she needs him to get through the road and to get her powers back.
She does seem like she genuinely cares about him, though, too.
Is that going to change, though? She kind of generally cared for him.
I don't know.
He was Nicholas. Is that going to change now that she knows?
Well, there was a couple of scenes where, it seemed like she was worried about him in this episode. Like, she was genuinely concerned that he didn't make it. And like she was like, oh my God, come on, we gotta hurry, we gotta bring him back. And then, oh, you're fine. Oh, okay, great. Let's get moving. And so she's like trying to like brush it off, like you didn't see me showing emotion.
We have another question. Stefano asked, but both Wanda's kids kind of faded away or whatever, didn't they? They did in WandaVision, but how they kind of played this off in the comics, once her kids disappeared that she created through magic, their souls almost went to other kids. And they were Billy Kaplan and Tommy Kaplan.
And besides, Stefano, that was a different show, okay? This is Agatha All Along. It's a totally different show from WandaVision. So all the things that happened in that other show, they don't matter. They happened in the other show. You can forget about that. We're on this show now.
because this show is a lot like WandaVision in that it does, a different theme every week. Like this week was a rock band, and last
I
week
noticed
was
that too. Yeah.
and I did notice the cut above his eyebrow again when he was not in the house.
Okay.
So I keep thinking that means something. Like it's supposed to tip us off. Like it's one of those things like we've noticed in the Acolyte or show like that when they foreshadow too much, and it makes it obvious. Only I'm finding the clue obvious, but not the result of the clue obvious. I guess when it happens, we'll be like, oh, or if it even happens. But I don't think they would make such a big effort to have it there and then have it not there when he's in the character in a house. I think it does mean something.
It definitely could. I think sometimes too, watching it, that it's just because he is all of a sudden in like costume for the period. Like this was kind of almost a 60s sort of studio. So people didn't have their eyebrows shaved in the 60s, so his eyebrow isn't shaved.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely, I mean, I'm not saying your theory's wrong. I'm just saying they could be playing it off that way too. But it is something that they've done multiple times now where he's on the road, it's shaved, and then when he's in this things, it's not. We did get, let's see, Brad said the kids are real in other dimensions, according to Multiverse of Madness. That is also true.
Yep,
and
that's
then
true.
Stefano says, nah, Doug, WandaVision was the prequel. And Brad agrees with him. And I do think that's kind of how it's going because there have been rumors that we're going to get another show after this based on the search for Tommy, who is Wiccan's brother Speed, who is another one of the Young Avengers. And it does sound like through the things going on, they are trying to put together the Young Avengers through different projects.
Okay.
See, that, I don't know. That just doesn't interest me at all. I mean, just because of these. WandaVision to me was a 5 or a 6, really. I don't know if you go back and look at it, our reviews, what I said then.
You gave it 9 5s straight through.
I did?
No.
All right, there we go. And, this isn't that much better or worse, so I'm not calling for another spin-off from this series. It's really going to be just probably average, if you ask me, and just by viewing what's happened so far.
No, see, I liked WandaVision quite a bit because it kind of did something different. It was that beginning of Phase 4. It was something totally different than anything we've gotten in the MCU, and it was interesting, and it brought up a lot of, interesting what's next from everybody that never panned out. Where this is a little more average, I think is a better way to say it.
This feels like what Marvel does too much of sometimes. It feels almost like it exists to promote something else. Like, do you remember back when we were talking about the difference between like a good end credit scene and then one that's clearly like they're just trying to market the next movie, but like one that actually adds something to the story. Like, I think one that does both would be the first one in Iron Man, where you had Nick Fury setting up the larger multiverse or the larger cinematic universe, but then also it added to the story of Iron Man. But a lot of these shows, it seems like their primary purpose is to, hey, we're going to set up these characters that are going to be in other movies. It's more like a commercial than a legitimate show. It seems like there's not as much effort being put into the story or into like the characters and their development or anything like that. It's like that's on the back burner because what's more important is we need to find out more about Tommy because he's going to be in the Young Avengers. Or we need to find out more about Mephisto because he's going to be in Ironheart. Or we need to find out more about,
and stop teasing Mephisto. Stop it.
Well, we know he's coming. We know he's coming, so it's a little better now. But if we don't get a tease, if we don't get a cameo of him in the end of this, it's going to be very disappointing because he makes a lot of sense for him to be there. But Brad said, you mean like the end credits of Deadpool? Which one? Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool 2, or the original Deadpool?
Like the one where he goes and kills Ryan Reynolds, who wrote Green Lantern.
That was great. That was amazing. That was well done. I did like the first one where he was ripping off Ferris Bueller. That was funny.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
Chris Evans.
Oh my! Well, that's what Stefano said. He said good credit scene, like the one Captain America did about patience. I will never forget hearing they're like, the end credit is so great. Oh my! And I'm like, oh my God, what's it gonna be? Oh, it's gonna tease something. We're gonna get some huge reveal, and I'm like, okay, I'm saying it's great too because I want to trick somebody else.
Right.
And Stefano says, okay, the only Mephisto I'm familiar with is the one from Diablo games. This is basically the Marvel Comics devil. He tries to buy people's souls. He's basically Satan, but they probably couldn't call him Satan, so they called him Mephisto. But they have later went on, and there has been an actual Satan in Marvel Comics. So he's kind of the same, but he's different too. But he's basically...
They should have went with Beelzebozo. No.
Yes, it is the same guy that did Ghost Rider. Did you say Beelzebub?
Beelzebozo, the clown Satan.
Oh, dear God. Did Bozo do the edit? That is I think you should leave Easter egg for all of our I think you should leave fans out there. Great show on Netflix. You should watch it.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's hilarious. That's one of my favorite sketch counts. Tim Robinson, Detroiters. Very funny. Very, very weird sense of humor. But back to Agatha, because, we love this show so much.
I mean, we can skip talking about Agatha and talk about I Think You Should Leave, like Coffin Flap. Great skit.
The bones are the money.
I just feel like this show was like it was done just because of the popularity of the moment, and that popularity passed, and we still got the show. That's how I feel about this show.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think when they first announced that they were doing an Agatha series, if you remember, they were playing off of the popularity of the song that she sang in WandaVision. And so, like, the initial announcement, we're going to do an Agatha-centric series. There's going to be a lot more singing. And we were just like, what? Like, I mean, I get on one hand why they're doing it because, they're chasing they're doing the same thing that any YouTuber would do. They're essentially figuring out, okay, this is what was popular. This is what worked. We're going to keep doing the same thing until it stops working.
And now I will say, because I think we got the announcement of this show right after what I consider the worst post-credit scene in all of the MCU, the Captain America musical. Because that was
I can do this all day.
Agatha, that little song was great in WandaVision. Like when she sang it, I downloaded it off YouTube.
It was stuck in my head.
It was a moment. And you guys are right. They took that moment and said, we need to do it again. And lightning does not usually strike twice like that. And while this has been good, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad show. It definitely is not, as good as the other show we're going to be talking about tonight, which has just been almost perfect in every way. This has been, I'm watching it, okay. Oh, there's some interesting things we can talk about, little tidbits left here and there, but nothing like overwhelming where I'm like, oh my God, right? I'm going to sit down and start typing stuff out because I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
It is tough because they don't, at least to me, it feels like they're not doing a whole lot to make us care about these characters. Like, they're all just there, right? They're there to walk the road with Agatha. And, they have a teeny tiny little pieces of character development here and there. Like we know with we know with Alice, for instance, like her big hang up was with her mom, right? So this whole episode was all about my mom was on tour and she was singing the Witch's Road song, and she was also there's a curse, and she was singing the song to get rid of the curse, and now we have to sing the song to get rid of the curse. But then that was it. Like, it was very shallow, almost like ankle deep character development. That was it. Like, I as far as I know, we've essentially reached the pinnacle of like her main issue. Her main issue was she wanted to know more about her mom. She wanted to get rid of the curse. Cool. Done. Now what?
Yeah.
What's left for her?
You know, the one nice moment in all of that was when she was like, the reason you're still alive is because everyone playing that song, you know, all the time. I was like, that's kind of a nice touch, but you're not wrong. The rest of it, you know, as soon as we saw it was a recording studio, I was like, okay, it's her. It's going to do it. You know, the family's cursed, all of that. Okay, once again, it wasn't terrible, but I wasn't like on the edge of my seat or anything else either. I mean, some of the stuff that's going on with the Potion Witch, I can't remember any. That's a bad sign when I can't remember any of the characters' names.
Right?
Yeah.
But her kind of backstory, hearing I was a midwife and I was part of, I forget what it's called, but I looked it up, and it was like the African American medicine during slavery times, and she was a part of that, and I was like, okay, that's, you know, pretty cool. And then talking about how she was tricked in as a midwife going to this conference, and she was bound that way. I'm like, okay, I would like to hear more. I'm not, you know, banging on the thing, marching at dawn to hear it, but I'm like, okay, at least they're kind of giving us tidbits.
As long as we're watching the show anyway, we may as well get something out of it, I suppose.
Correct.
It seems like a lot of the character development is being, or they're foregoing the character development for little comedy quips, like little one-liners.
Yeah, they are doing a little bit of that, yeah.
Not out of the realm of MCU writing, though. I mean, they do that a lot. It's been done better. It's been done worse. It's not. But the one character is dang it, Lilia. When she like sort of zones out, and it seems like she's talking, like she's being almost possessed or channeling somebody else and talking. Yeah. I hope they expand on that a little more. And it's not just some weirdness that happens. I hope when we get to her trial, we learn a little bit more about it, and maybe the things she said will come into play. That'd be a nice touch.
I assume it has something to do with the fact that she's like the fortune teller witch. Like she claims that she can talk to ghosts and spirits and stuff.
Yeah, she's the divination witch. It definitely is. And whether she's a little more in tune with it on the Witch's Road, or because she did this even when they were recruiting her. She kind of had that moment, but it's almost always done for a laugh at this point, because she'll like say something, they'll go, "What? She goes, what?" But she does some other moments too, where she's like, "Yeah, vampire bit me. You know, I took out his other tooth, and you know that, and you know her saying to Rio, don't think I forgot what you said in there. Like, I know we got to travel this road together, but I'm not going to forget that, and it's going to come up later.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll
I'm
come
watching
up later.
you.
Yeah.
But I don't think she'll be able to avoid anything that Rio is going to do. She's not going to be able to. I mean, if she is who we think she is, there's nothing she can do about it.
You know, I almost think what would have made this work a little bit better is they should have really limited Rio being in the first episode. Like, have her in a couple of the, when she was still in the detective TV show. Have her show up here and there. But I think that should have been it. And then we shouldn't have seen her again until she got summoned to the Witch's Road. I think that would have added to the mystery of it all. It would have added to her development. We would have been more inclined to be like, who the hell is this? Like, what is their deal? What's going on between her and Agatha? But, like, they've pretty much already answered most of it. It's like, we don't know exactly who she is, but we're pretty sure. And we don't know exactly what their relationship was, but we're pretty sure. Like,
Agatha is her scar, as she described.
She's definitely her scar. And now when she was talking, speaking of that scene where she said, I had to do something that was my job, and it really upset her. Do you think she had to collect Nicholas?
Probably.
Yeah, and that's why she said that's not your son.
Yep.
That's how she knows for sure.
That is what that's how I took it. And once again, if that is the case, they're not being very subtle about this. And it's now, even if it is right, it has still been okay to watch, unlike, another show that we're not going to talk about, where everything was telegraphed from, 50 yards away, and it wasn't enjoyable to watch it pan out either. At least so far, we're 4 episodes in, there's 9 episodes. Unfortunately, it's pretty much stayed the course. It's not going up. It's not really going down for me. It's just, straight line. This is the show. And I don't honestly expect it to change. I think maybe the last 2 episodes might amp it up a bit if we do get any, cameos from Mephisto or anything, more mystic based in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or in Marvel Universe, I should say. But, we'll see. It's been fine.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have something a little more consequential happen, but I don't think anything that happens on the show is going to affect that greater MCU.
I mean, it could. Yeah. It could later on. But so far, nothing has. I mean, we may find out that Doug's favorite character, Doug's favorite hero, the Scarlet Witch, is still alive at the end of this. Which I don't think anyone.
Why not?
I don't think anyone thinks she's dead, but it may be hinted at later on. You do think she's dead?
Wanda? Yeah.
I read, like, after I don't know where I read it, but after Multiverse of Madness, I read that she signed another multi-picture deal. And I was wondering why. So why does everybody think she's dead when they announced she signed a deal? But now I'm thinking, did I really read that?
You did read it, but it was never confirmed by Marvel Studios or anyone else officially. But it was rumored that she signed a 7-picture deal.
Well, if they're keeping that under wraps pretty well, if that's the case.
And it could be. I mean, we may find out at the end of this. It may open up like a children's crusade type of story with Wanda trying to find her kids, and who knows what's going on. But they have.
It would be funny if they did bring her back and she was a bad guy again.
She was not happy with Multiverse of Madness.
They're not going to look. Nobody's going to look at her as a good guy in the 616.
I don't see how it'd be possible.
Like, she could, eradicate, Magneto or something. And
that'd be worse. He was a Holocaust victim.
Well, plus that's her dad. And I don't even think that would redeem her.
Here, let me help you out. She could stop Mephisto from enslaving all of Earth, and people wouldn't see her.
You'd have that one guy.
Her father, a Holocaust survivor, would be like, "Yay, it's the hero."
You'd have that one guy. She'd get rid of Mephisto. You'd have that one guy. Yeah, but I made a deal with him to get rid of my wife's cancer. So what's happening with that now?
Thanks, Wanda. Well, unless he already took it away and he was just waiting the 7 years to, collect his soul, then it would be a kind of good job, Wanda. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think we're going to find out that Rio was with her the first time. At first, I didn't really think she traveled the road, but the more we get into it, I think she did. She just doesn't want to give them anything because she knows it's not going to end well for pretty much anyone but her. And so she's kind of keeping tight-lipped about it. And I just want to see how she changes now that it's been confirmed, seemingly by Rio, that that's not Nicholas. That's not her son. Because she was becoming very protective of him. Mm-hmm. Like when he was bleeding out, she looked right at her and was like, "Oh yeah, don't take him." Like she knew, obviously, what Rio's job is. So it'll be interesting to see. And if it is something that their fight was because she had to collect, her son's soul because of whatever. I mean, hopefully they execute it well.
It would be
a surprise.
It would be interesting if they did like another flashback and they showed, Agatha, she's all powered up and she doesn't care, one body after another, all the witches that she's, turned against, all the people that she's given to Lady Death, but now all of a sudden, oh, well, now I take issue on you don't take him. Oh, but you told me to take all of the others. Like, there's no special treatment.
Well, should we rate this episode, gentlemen?
Yeah. I don't think there's much else to say as far as like what do we think is coming next or anything, but
another trial.
Yeah, it's just gonna you're right. Each show is going to be another trial, and obviously the Witch's Road is different every time you go down it because it depends on who you're with and what they have to go through.
It's very
And
personalized for the witches, yeah, the coven.
yeah, and obviously they can't escape it because when she tried to walk the other way, it just showed up in front of her there. So once you're there, you're gonna have to deal with whatever demons you have to deal with, and then it's the cool premise. Um, the execution of it is a little boring, and it's a little recycled from WandaVision, as in like they're not gonna do the 50s and 60 TV shows. They're just gonna do whatever. All right, we're gonna do a rock band this week. We're gonna do the thing they did last week. It's gonna be different next week, and they're all gonna be in different costumes. That's how it's gonna be, and to me, it's kind of recycled. So, and like I said earlier, I can't picture what the overall point of this show is. What is it going to do? Are we going to be? I mean, because is Agatha going to come out at the end and we're going to have a better view of her? Is she going to be more of a positive character? Is she going to take over for Wanda type of thing as being the good guy? Is she going to go through this road and come out less evil, or is she going to come out? Well, she's kind of, in my mind, in the witch's world, she's kind of like Loki. She's serving herself, or is she going to come out evil? Which, if you run into Mephisto, she might be holding off Mephisto. I don't know. I still don't know. I'm still not hyped enough about it to care that much. But I want it to go somewhere. I want it to have a point. And right now, I don't see what that point could be. It just seemed, and then, like I said earlier, again, when Doug was talking about the character development being so shallow, and he's right. They don't develop the characters in favor of like little flashes of what they're supposed to grow into, whatever they're seeing in their demons. That's what they're supposed to grow from, but then we don't get the growth. We don't get to see that. It's been like not happening, and then they throw a joke in there, and then it throws it off for me. And so, this is the same as the first 3 episodes. I'm gonna say 5, solid 5. I don't hate it, but I definitely don't love it.
Yeah, I more or less feel the same way that you did. It's kind of boring to me. I'm not really into it as much. It feels like a soulless cash grab. That's what it kind of feels like to me. It's like Disney knew what they were doing. They were just literally like, well, this worked the first time, let's do it again. And that's all it feels like. It feels like we're just doing WandaVision under a different name, and we're going to tweak it just enough so it's not identical. But it does feel like they're doing a lot of the same things. Like, oh, we're going to leave you guessing. Oh, is it Mephisto? I don't know. It might be. Who knows? And it's like they're doing all these little. But at the end of the day, it feels like it's just there to, again, be WandaVision 2.0, and then to set up future projects. Like, we're going to introduce these characters because they're going to appear elsewhere or something, or something like that. I don't know, but I guess I'm not even really asking a whole lot of questions about the plot of this show because it hasn't really grabbed my attention as much. Like, the only thing that I kind of sort of care about, mystery-wise, is who the teen is. And that's kind of, we're pretty sure we know who he is. So it's, at this point, it's like, that's it. That's all. Okay. The entire show is just going to be next trial. Character development over. Next trial. Character development over. And then the end of the show, and Agatha will probably sacrifice herself to save the teen or something. Or the teen will die, and Rio will take a soul or something. Who knows? It'll be something dumb and corny that we've seen in every other show and movie, and that'll be it. So I'm going to give this episode a 4. Just didn't care enough. Well, you know what? No, I take that back. Aubrey Plaza was in it, 4.5.
I like that scoring method. And, this show kind of is what it is. We are getting these episodes every week. It is the most episodic of all the Marvel shows. It's kind of got that going in its favor. Who who's the teen? Who is Aubrey Plaza's character actually? We're gonna learn a little more about the potion witch. I did like little things have come up which have been okay. I like that. Like she was able to create that healing potion from the water and the moonlight this time. It's like she's coming into her power a little bit more now that her trial was completed the first episode. But nothing great. It's all little things that are like, okay, good. And I think that this show is going to hinge on how it ends. If it can execute a great ending, I think it's going to come up in my book. If it's just exactly what we think it's going to be, and Agatha is going to probably turn on all the witches, Lady Death's going to get the bodies, and maybe she helps the teen get out of the witch's road and get his power. It's going to be like, you guys should have done a little better job of figuring out an ending. If that's what it's going to be, I think my opinion of it's going to drop. But, I'm hoping there's a little more to all of this than just what we've seen. Because we are probably going to get, we got 5 episodes left. We're going to get some more trials. But there's only like 3 witches left. We got Catherine Hahn's character hasn't had a trial. Rio hasn't had a trial. And the divination. And I guess Wiccan. Or I'm sorry, the teen. So we got those 4. And then maybe another episode after that. So, I think for that, I'm going to give it a 5.5 because Aubrey Plaza. It hasn't.
Yeah.
I'm still not looking at my phone while I watch it. And I watched it a second time with my wife. My wife and daughter have been watching it. They loved WandaVision, so they've been watching this. And I'm watching, I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm not like, oh, I missed that part. That was so cool. It's like you catch everything almost the first time. There's nothing jumping out at me on my second watch that's made me go, I better write that note down because I need to talk about it. I catch it all on the first watch, which is kind of weird because it's most shows you always seem to catch a little bit more the second time. And I'm not getting that with this show, which is weird, which is probably why I'm going to rate it.
That much to it.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to rate it a 5.5 and not really go any higher. But if you're still out there... Oh, and Stefano did say, I think Agatha's trial will be interesting. I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, Stefano, if you're out there, if you've been watching, what do you rate this episode? We've been...
one of the things that I think hurts this show is the fact that it doesn't have the same water cooler moments that we had with WandaVision. Like with WandaVision, at least at the very end of every episode, there was enough of a cliffhanger where we were like, we had plenty to talk about. We would fill up, a good chunk of time talking about the episode and what could happen next and what this might mean and, how does this fit in with the greater MCU and everything like that. But this almost feels like, it kind of almost feels like Moon Knight in a way where we know that it's part of the MCU, but it's almost like quarantined itself. It's like in its own little, and it's not really connecting to the larger universe that much, at least not yet.
And once again, I think how this show is seen once it's done will be how well it ends.
Yeah.
If they pull a Moon Knight, people are probably going to be pretty disappointed. But I don't know if you guys hear. I knew Dave was probably waiting for this news more than anybody.
Okay.
I moved this to tangent time for a minute.
Oh?
It's been being reported that Marvel Studio has an excellent idea for season 2 of Moon Knight.
Huh.
Okay.
Please have it street level. Please have it the Moon Knight we wanted in season 1. But once again, all unconfirmed.
Well, I can't say I'd be hyped about that. I would have to see an Andor level preview for that to go up for my hype level to rise from 0.
I was disappointed because I was really looking forward to the Moon Knight series. I love the comics, and it really fell flat. It's such a shame because it had potential.
It's one of those comics. Moon Knight comics are almost like Daredevil comics in the sense that who's ever writing them, they're almost always good. Like,
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to find a bad Daredevil series. And for the most part, I've read so many Moon Knight different series. You know, from when he was original. Like the original Moon Knight series back from the '80s was probably my favorite because he was just like he was Marvel's Batman pretty much. You know, but he worshipped the Moon God. And there's been other things. You know, they definitely. I think my biggest gripe with season 1 was they went right for the mysticism and God and all of that other stuff. When I think they would have been better served him starting out how he did in the comics and just kind of be this mercenary sort of guy who died and was brought back to life by, you know, Khonshu and was doing his bidding. It would have been better off, but
yeah, if they would have, like, you know, waited until the last episode to introduce Khonshu, like, well, Mark, it looks like I brought you back again. Oh my God, who the heck are you?
Well, maybe F. Mary Abraham couldn't make it any other time, you know.
that's true. That's a good point. And Stefano says 4.5. It felt short. So it's kind of
Okay.
I think kind of universally everyone's thinking, okay, it's average. It's not. No one's turning it off in rage. Well, some people are probably turning it off in rage because it's a woman lead, but most people are, you know, just kind of doing it. But and Brad said 5-ish, middle of the Witch's Road.
No, that's good.
Well, you know what
Well
happens
said.
if you get hang out in the middle of the road. You're on one side, you're on the other side, you're safe. But in your middle of the road, you're gonna get hit.
That is true. But are you gentlemen ready to talk,
The penguin?
as Benedict Cumberbatch would say, the Penguin?
Oh.
We got
Yes.
episode 3 last night, Bliss, which, while didn't go kind of how I thought this episode would go, I still was riveted with every minute. It was nice seeing them kind of, well, first we got the flashback with Victor, and we really learned a lot about his character and with how this whole episode played out and how it ended. I loved it. That was great. I really enjoyed how that character went. And Oz's moments with him were great. I mean, him explaining to him, like, I saw something in you and you could be something. And, you know, it's almost, I don't want to say not Penguin-like, but we've never gotten this sort of Penguin in the comics or any television or thing where, you know, he truly cares for people. And then, you know, you can start to see, like Doug pointed out in the first episode and how he wasn't Batman. He lies to the mob, but there's certain people he tells the truth with. He's always told the truth to Victor. And we see him starting to tell the truth to Sophia at the end of this episode. And I was like, okay, things are starting to change between them. And then how that episode ended, it might change again.
Yeah.
That was not how I expected that to end at all.
He also tells the truth to Batman. So,
When he gets his car flipped over and gets the crap pummeled out of him.
but you know, you're right. I thought like he was very fatherly to Vic in this episode. Like, you know, your father would be proud of you. You're doing a great job. And he said all that before he thought he was leaving. So he was being genuine, you know.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, it was all those talks, why he came back at the end. And I think I had to look up her name because I always forget her last name, Cristin Milioti. This is like her defining role. She is incredible as Sophia Falcone. I don't know. She's like, this could be your breakout role. I think she was on like was that How I Met Your Mother, right? I think she was on that show.
Yeah, in like the last half of the last season.
Yeah. And that's where I'd seen her before. But on this show, she steals the scene. Those two are like the best actors they could have found for those roles. They're amazing.
It tells you something when they're just sitting there talking to each other, and it's mesmerizing. That's how
You're
good they
engaged.
both are. It just blows me away. What a great job they've done on this. We've said it after every episode, but you know, even little things like when Oz saw the text. He's like, "You want to go? Oh, I'm holding you here hostage. Am I holding you here like this?" And he's putting the gun to him, and he was never going to fire it. You know, he does care for Vic, but just the way that character handles that situation isn't like how a normal dad, like a father figure, would handle it.
Right.
But it's how he would handle it, and it really gets through to Vic. You know, by the end of it, the writers, the acting, everything about this show just deserves all the awards come award season, because I didn't think there was a chance. Like, I was looking forward to this just because how good Colin Farrell was in the Batman, and you know, I thought they could do something really good. I did not expect it to be this good, and
I didn't either. When you first told us about this, we were doing like a rumor mill rundown. This was even back when I think when we first talked about it, we were still recording out of our old studio, and I remember thinking, I'm like, a show just about the Penguin? I'm like, that's not gonna work. That's dumb. There's no way that's ever going to, you know, make it. Like, nobody's gonna watch that. And then, you know, we're getting all of these horrible Sony movies, Venom without Spider-Man,
it's gonna be great.
Craven without Spider-Man,
It's gonna be
Morbius
great.
without
It was
it's
great.
like, oh boy, this is not gonna be great. But then you realize that what they're actually doing is they're telling a mob story that just happens to be set in the DC Comics world. It just happens to be set in the world of the Batman. And they've got like a few minor references here and there, but it's not like in your face. But I think the few minor references that they do are actually really good for the world building. I agree completely with Keith. The opening of this episode was phenomenal. I loved being able to see what the Riddler did from somebody else's perspective. It was terrifying. It was like, and you understand why Vic feels the way that he does and why it's like basically traumatized him, because yeah, that would screw up anybody, especially the fact that he lost his family and all of this, that like, you know, Gotham is still underwater when his girlfriend says, you know, he's like, why are you leaving? Your life is here. And she goes, our school is underwater. What do you want me to
I'm
do?
sick of living in a FEMA tent.
Right.
Which you don't usually get that kind of details, and like, oh yay, Batman saved the day, and then the next movie everything's fine. So it is nice seeing the after effects of what happened in that first movie and how it affected certain families and how it's making decisions for those characters to do what they do in this. And you know, like Dave was saying, you know, his decision to come back at the end of this episode wasn't just a spur of the moment thing. It has been being built up over 3 episodes ever since he talked him out of not killing him in that first episode after they got the body, you know, in the trunk. And he was like, hey, turn around, look at the sunset. He's like, no, wait. And he kind of talked him out of it. It's been building up since then. So it's not just a flippant little, you know, writer's choice or trying to trick you. You know, when it happened, you're all like, yeah, he should have done that. That, you know, I see why he did that. It's not, you know, this huge twist that no one saw coming, but it was executed so well throughout this entire series so far. It worked.
Wait, Keith, are you saying that better character development is spread out over multiple episodes instead of kind of shoved half-assed into the middle of one?
Don't put words in my mouth. It's better to shove it half-assed in the middle of an episode.
No. We love the Sony formula. What are you talking about? No, but like the way you said, the way he reacted, like when he found out about the text and he found out he was going to leave, he went from praising him to that's when the Penguin came out. He became the Penguin. He didn't know how to deal with that any other way. He, growing up, he can feel sympathy for Vic because he knows he's been there. He's been in that position. That's so honest with him, and he wants to take him with him. But as soon as he felt betrayed, that was it. You know, the Penguin came out, and he was like, "F this kid." You know, I'm going to tell him to just get out of here, and I might find him and kill him someday, but not. You know, I got something more important right now. And then when he comes back, everything's forgiven. It's all forgiven. You saved my ass. What about Sophia? Leave her there.
Leave her. Let's get out of here. Get out of here. But the scene too, when he's sitting at the bar like drinking after he left, for no dialogue, that was great. You saw the hurt
Mm-hmm.
in his face and kind of how he was acting. I was like, wow, man.
Yeah.
Please make
It's
another
such-
season.
Penguin
Please
is
have.
such a deep character.
It, I don't like when a lot of the other YouTubers, when they get all like, heavy-handed, and try to draw parallels to religious things in their reviews of these different shows. It happened a lot with, a lot of like the Acolyte and some of these others. You'd hear like, oh, well, this is referencing such and such from this part of the Bible. I will say, as weird as it is for me to do this, this is very reminiscent of like the whole prodigal son story, where you've got, hey, do you want to go? All right, fine. I'm not holding you. I'm not going to keep you here. He even goes so far as he doesn't stop Vic from taking his car. It's like, yeah, take the money I gave you, take the car, whatever, go and do whatever's best for you. And, he's sitting there. Obviously, he's sad. He's broken up over it. But Vic, like what you and Dave just said, he thinks about it. He looks at this girl that he's done too much. He's seen too much. He can't live a normal life anymore. There's no way he could. He can't go back to that. He can't. She needs to go in her direction. He needs to go in his direction. So he ends up going back to Oz.
By the way, speaking of the money, when the cop's like, what is a kid your age doing with that much money? He's like, what money?
Yeah, right. That was
The best part
I
about
think
that
that
was when he told Oz.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's like,
I
oh,
was like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, that's
kid,
good.
easy come, easy go. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was like so thrilled by that story. Like, I
Mhm.
was like, that just made my night. I was like laughing. I'm like, oh my God, he's so thrilled like that he had a confrontation with the cops and was able to, do the right thing and get out of it. That was great.
Well, it also goes back to like, what Oz told him the previous episode. There is no playbook to this kid. You got to think on your feet. And that's exactly what Victor did.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought about that. I would have.
No, neither would I have.
I would have been,
Like,
oh,
okay.
it's money for my parents' insulin.
And what's that in the bag? The insulin?
I have,
Okay.
why is it red? No reason. It's a new special, more expensive
cheap stuff.
insulin. But let's talk about you got to think on your feet. There's no playbook here.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that Oz does to kind of get him out of one situation is creating more problems for him down the line.
Yeah.
Everything he does. And I love it. It's so great. Like framing, what's his name? So he'll make the call to the triad so they'll be able to do business together. Leaving Sophia behind after she just found out that he's been playing, both sides of this whole mob war. Leave her. He got out of the situation, but it's going to cause more problems down the line. He just keeps doing it. He thinks of enough to get him out of the situation, but not enough ahead to stop any more problems coming down the line. And that's what makes
But
this
you know
show
what?
so good.
Watching him, I sit there and I'm rooting for him, but he's a villain, so I obviously shouldn't be rooting for him. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, so I'm just going to sit back and watch because he has proven that he's so, smart. He's got a high IQ in the mob world, and anything that pops up, he's been ready for, or he could adjust to really quickly. Leaving Sophia behind, that surprised the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But how is he going to fix it? He's going to fix it. This is episode 4. There's 4 more or 5 more? 4 more?
4 more.
And
No, there's 5 more. There's 8 episodes total.
yeah, and he's going to fix it. He's going to fix it because, he's going to make it through and he's going to be on top at the end. It's just going to be interesting to see how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that both sides know he's playing both sides, or maybe just Sophia knows.
I was going to say, Sophia now knows, but how much is she going to share with that? She might use that against him, keep him close until she gets what she needs with him. She's already gotten a huge chunk of what she needed. She got to deal with the triads. She's going to start, pushing Bliss, and it's going to, make her a lot of money. And it's going to get her a lot of power and influence. And you even saw, like in this episode, she knows the mob life just as much or better than Oz. when she was
She is very intelligent.
when she was
The
like,
way that she was speaking and the way that she was, explaining why the Triad wanted to be in on this deal. And then when he was kind of like, oh, I don't know. And she's like, I don't really care. I'll go with this group. I'll go with that mob. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Somebody's going to buy into it. And and then she gets up and walks away. Like, it means nothing to them. It means nothing to her. And it's like, that is a sales tactic. That is good. She knows what the hell she's doing.
yep,
It is
she
hard
said-
to call her crazy.
made sure to say to Oz, close the deal or don't. Let me know. And walked away. That's the way to handle it. And she, man, even her saying,
And
I did my research on you too. And I know
yes.
your dad was a psychiatrist, and think of what is going on in this city after what happened with the Riddler. These people need bliss. Look at out there right now. A hit went from $20 to $60 in one night. That's unheard of. And look at everyone's having fun. Their minds off of all the trouble. They're not worried about sleeping in a FEMA tent tonight. They're having fun at your club. I mean, he had to make the deal.
The way that she played along when Oz was talking, even though you could tell she's like, what are you talking about? She just played along with it. The way they bounced off each other, and by the end of the show, it was like she had, when he went through his speech was it wasn't Andor level speech, but it was a pretty damn good speech. And with him almost crying at the end of it, I think he won her over in that moment, and then he lost her 2 seconds later.
As soon as he had her back, he lost her.
Yeah.
But it was very powerful because he wasn't he wasn't doing the normal Oz, which she sees through. She even said in this episode, you always say the right thing.
We got a Gilbert Gottfried.
Set up the timer.
I don't know how long it's been out there.
And welcome. Welcome, Sierra. Thanks for joining us and cashing in your channel points. We always love when Infinity Stones are cashed in. But, she said to Oz, you always say the right thing. And in that last speech, he said the truth. He didn't just say what he thought she wanted to hear. He was like, I did it. And you know what? I was better off for it. But I do feel sorry for what you went through. That was a great speech. Nothing will ever be Andor level, but it was still so good.
Yeah, that speech on Andor would be really hard to top.
Yeah.
And Brad asks, I haven't watched, but why do they call him the Penguin? Because he walks like a penguin. And that's about it as far as we know.
Yeah, he's got a club foot. He doesn't have like the ridiculous hands that Danny DeVito had.
And he doesn't have like a long pointed nose or anything. Like a lot of times in the comics, they'll draw him as having like, kind of a small head and then a big wide body and, show him wobbling and everything like that. He's definitely in the universe that this movie created. It's very down to earth. About as much as it can be. It's a lot like the Christopher Nolan movies where, they didn't want any, weird, crazy supernatural stuff. You're dealing with, criminals, the mob, things like that.
So what you're saying is by the end of this series, Firefly is going to be fighting with Mr. Freeze while Bane is juiced up smashing through buildings. Got it. Excellent. What's next, fellas?
Yeah, Bane's gonna be looking for that spaghetti maker, He's got to find.
It was a wedding gift, and they didn't get married.
Yeah, it's only fair that he gets it back.
I wouldn't mind them tackling, a Mr. Freeze story, and giving him a grounded sort of scientific approach. I think the best version of it, and I always give a lot of credit for the Batman animated series, but I'd say that is probably the pinnacle. That is the best version of Mr. Freeze that we've ever gotten. The sort of, you understand this villain, you see where he's coming from, and even Batman kind of like feels bad from like, oh dude, yeah, I get it, I see why you're doing all this stuff. He's not like criming for crime's sake. He's doing it because I need to raise the money to, save my dying wife. I'm a scientist, and I just, have you seen the cost of healthcare in this country?
And honestly, that was the pinnacle of Mr. Freeze. And if they have a grounded story like that in this universe, yeah, they should do it.
I don't know how they're going to, make us buy into a dude who can't, be outside of a specialized, suit to keep him, below zero. I don't know how they're going to explain that in this grounded universe, but I would still like to see them try.
He's just going to be a roast comic. And every time he roasts somebody, they're going to go, that's cold.
Oh, it's so terrible.
Oh, wait, nobody cashed in a dad joke. What's going on here?
Sometimes when you get Gilbert, you get a dad joke.
They got a drink named after you.
And Brad said, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just chill. Maybe you should do it in the Arnold voice, Dave.
Chill out. You need to chill out.
If it ever goes back to the Batman and Robin era, Brad, I'm going to be upset because that was terrible. The Batman we're getting now is fantastic. Now, I'm okay if they get away from the grounded aspect of Batman in like the DCU, but I hope it's not Batman and Robin. I would be very upset.
Speaking of Robin, I do love all the little parallels that this has to, some of the versions of Robin. The fact that, was it Jason Todd that Batman found trying to steal his hubcaps? Or trying to steal the wheels off the Batmobile? Yeah. I like that Vic is almost like a dark side version of Robin in a way. Like he's
still kind of innocent though,
Yeah, for now.
No,
I'm waiting for him to turn into, the Nightwing equivalent.
I have a dark theory. The 5 minutes is up, by the way. Thank you, Sierra, for the Gilbert Godfrey. I have a dark theory about how this series ends.
Okay.
Well, he's not going to die. He's in the second movie, isn't he?
The Penguin is. What if Vic gets killed? And that's really what sets him down a much darker path than he already. Because right now, he's just kind of a mobster. Mm-hmm. He's not a Batman villain at this point. But if something traumatic happens to him, his adopted son, for all intents and purposes, gets killed because of what he started. That may turn him down a much darker path. And that may be where we see the Penguin in Batman Part 2. And that's why we're getting 8 episodes of this to kind of walk through how he could go from what he was in the first movie to what we're going to see in Part 2.
I had another theory, kind of in a similar realm, as far as like development of the Penguin, seeing him eventually become a more twisted version of himself, someone that, because it got me thinking, in all of the, the comic book issues of Batman or the animated series, whenever we see like Batman's rogues gallery, most of them are in Arkham, and that includes the Penguin. When he's caught, he's locked up in Arkham, just like Harley, just like Joker, just like the Riddler. So it makes me wonder what is going to happen to him to make the state deem him crazy, that he needs mental health treatment rather than prison. Is he paying them off, or is something going to happen to him? And it got me thinking, what if there's more to bliss? What if, sure, a small amount will make you feel euphoria, kind of make you not care about living in a FEMA tent, will make everything kind of feel good. But what if you had too much? What if something happens to a bunch of those canisters and it just kind of poof, red dust into Oz's face, and now all of a sudden he loses it. Now he's crazy.
And we did see the, where they're manufacturing this. We saw Walter White. He was getting ready to cook. So
Hippie Walter White.
I'd say if that
Man.
comes and goes, that'd be more interesting than if he went like crazy. You know, if it comes, his insanity comes and goes, and there's a trigger factor to it.
I can see that too, yeah.
That would, yeah. I mean, they would spend eight episodes developing the character, and just to have him go crazy at the end, like, yeah, not completely crazy. I can see it.
just he's no longer, because Batman's rogues gallery is not mobsters, they're villains.
Right.
And yeah, he needs to take that next step, because right now he's just, I don't want to say a mid-level mobster, and he's going to transcend that and become the actual villain by probably if not the end of this, during the Batman Part 2 in some way.
It is pretty funny that we're watching this show about the Penguin and it's working so well. We just went and did our at the theater review for Joker 2, and both are about Batman villains. One works and one doesn't.
Yeah, I
It's
feel
so
bad.
crazy.
I kind of feel bad for Todd Phillips because I mean he got so much acclaim for the first Joker movie, and I haven't seen a single positive review for the second one.
I have seen some pretty interesting breakdowns of people saying that Todd Phillips did this on purpose because he's trying to separate himself from what the Joker became. I guess the way that people were praising that film and praising the character where they shouldn't have been was a little weird for Todd Phillips. He didn't really like the direction that people were taking it in, and so he treated this movie as a way to tear down and end the Joker.
His Joker, obviously.
His version of the Joker, yes.
I mean, I guess
Because too many people
that.
were like, "Oh, well, yeah, this is great. I side with him. I get it, because he's left alone by the city. Nobody cares about him, and he's a mental health patient, and we should feel for him, and we should side with him." And Todd's like, "No, that's not the point. Like, he's still a narcissist. Like, he still made bad decisions. He should not have killed people just because he felt bad."
Well, as long as we're tangenting on the Joker, and the very last scene, in that movie, you guys, he was the guy becoming the second Joker. I mean, obviously, he would become the first Joker. I don't know what the whole thing that bothers me about that is where was he planning on taking it?
I don't think he was planning on taking it anywhere. I don't think he intends on, there being any more sequels. I don't know. I don't know that he intended for there to be a sequel from the first one, but I imagine Warner was like, "Hey, we like money. Go make us more."
You made us so much money. You want to make another one? As long as I have $200 million and you let me make the movie I want to make. Yeah, of course. And now they're like, "Oh dear God, what did we do?"
Right, because they are not making their money back.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, I just think it's crazy how that fails miserably as a movie, as a musical, as a story about a villain in the world of Batman, and yet the Penguin, who isn't exactly Batman's most famous, most popular villain, he's certainly he's part of Batman's rogue gallery, but he's nowhere on the same level as like the Joker or even really the Riddler. He really has always kind of been a penguin and fish themed mobster with a weird umbrella that shoots bullets. I don't know. He's a weird little dude. But the fact that his show is so good and they're doing so fantastic with his character development, that really says a lot.
Well, think about it. I mean, someone has always come along. A writer has always come along and kind of tweaked characters, villains in comic books and everything else. I mean, at one point, when Joker was first introduced, he was just a homicidal clown.
Yeah.
And he's become like this agent of chaos and such a, interesting character. And it almost seems like we're finally getting that with Penguin through this series. We're finally getting the, perfect Penguin character for the Batman villain, where he's no longer just wah, 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 wah. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you. You know, we're getting this. He's, you know, a mob boss, and, you know, he's maybe deformed a little bit with the club foot, but he is going to, you know, do whatever he has to do to get power and keep power. And, you know, for a I don't want to say a year one Batman in the movie, but an early Batman, he's going to be quite formidable.
Year two?
Year two, yeah, something like that. Oh, and we got a chat from Weak Reparations, it looks like. Cheap viewers. Good, thank you so much.
Oh, you should click that link.
We only want high-class viewers. We don't want any cheap viewers.
Yeah. No one knows cheap viewers.
If they have to ask us how much a subscription is, they can't afford it.
Yeah.
But all right. I mean, I cannot wait for next week's episode. I really hate the week waiting for it, because as soon as I was done with last night's episode, I'm like, oh, of course.
I need to see what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
Because, like, the fact that he just drove off and left Sophia, I'm like, dude, what you doing, man?
And once again, the look that was on his face, just go. We got to get out of this situation, and not thinking 3 steps ahead. He is a get out of the current situation I'm in, but not think this 4 or 5 steps down the line. And it's just going to make for a great show, because we know, you know, Vidi is gunning for him after what he did to him. The Maronis are gunning for him now. Sophia's going to be gunning for him. And depending if word gets to the Falcones or not, they may be gunning for him. He may have 2 crime families coming after him.
Hey, and since Sophia's now working with the Triad, maybe she'll be like, hey, if you want this to be a long-lasting business relationship, you see Oz, you shoot on sight.
Yeah. Find me the Penguin.
I got a feeling he's going to smooth that over with Sophia somehow, and she's obviously going to get out of her situation.
I almost feel like she's too smart to fall for it again.
She might use him. I don't think, even when she said, I can't trust you, and then he started to win her back, but there's no coming back from this. She may use him to get further with the Triad and gain more power with the Falcones, but I don't see him ever making complete amends with this. One of them is going to turn on the other. Whoever does it first is going to win. And I think Oz is smart enough to know, hey, I know what's going on here, and when the moment's right, I'm taking the first shot. He's going to agree.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah.
He said that to Vic, you know. As soon as we don't get rid of him. That's what he said to Vic.
Considering how many comics Sophia is in and how many comics the Penguin is in, I don't know who's going to wind up on top.
It's probably Sophia.
It's all about a preference. Okay. Edit that out. Edit that.
But back to what you were saying, Dave. You had mentioned him talking to Vic. One other thing that kind of ties into, it's almost foreshadowing what ended up happening at the end, when he tells Vic, like, oh, what, are you still worried about last night? That was forever ago. I'm not even worried about that anymore. Yeah, he very much is an in-the-moment individual. It's like he literally had Vic lay in a hole filled with dead bodies. Like, that was nothing, whatever.
Well, he taught him the lesson. Now he moves on.
Right.
Yeah, it was just like the whole, I'm putting a gun to your head right now. Oh, you think I'm keeping you hostage here? But then he's like, yeah, I respect you, but you can go ahead and leave if that's really what you want to do. I was like, okay, this guy is truly sane.
he comes back. He's like, I knew you'd come back. All right, let's get the hell out of here.
He's so happy when he comes back. He's, get out of here. What about Sophia? Forget about her. Let's go. It's me and you, kid. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because as soon as it ended, my first thought was the triads are going to come out and take care of the rest of the Maronis that are out there, because obviously Sophia's about to make them a whole lot of money, and they probably don't appreciate the Maronis coming right to their club and attacking their partners. You know, that's almost how mob families work. Hey, don't disrespect me. You come here, you come to our club shooting people up. We don't go for that. But they're also going to be.
That was a Triad Club, wasn't it? I thought that was Penguin's Club.
No, they were at the Triads Club.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. And I don't know how close to the vest Sophia is going to keep the fact that he took off without her. Because she probably does understand she still needs him for now. And she may not let anybody know what happened. And she may act, you know, towards Oz like, yeah, it's good. It's good. You did what you had to do. But as soon as his usefulness is over, he's going to Greedo her. Or she's going to Greedo him. But I think we know what's really going to happen.
Now, what do you think she meant? What do you think she meant when she said that she wasn't the hangman? Does that imply that in this world, there was actually a separate person who was the hangman and she just got the rap for it? Or is she saying, sort of like, you know, Joker 2, that's a different persona, I'm not that person?
I think she's saying it was somebody else.
Oh,
but
and so she was framed.
I don't think it is.
Oh.
But it'll be interesting to see. They pulling a what?
Yeah, I am curious.
OJ.
He's not going to rest until he finds the real killer.
Right.
But I didn't think they were going to delve any more into the hangman, and she was kind of talking about it. And it sounds like next week, if you guys watched the preview, we're going to get a little bit more of her backstory. So I think we will get some answers on what really went down between her and Oz. You know, that he was kind of apologizing for in that speech at the end here. And it's probably going to be good. And it's probably going to be, you know, something we may not expect exactly. But I think overall, because I almost took it like she was just mad that he turned her in. Or that she got found out. Like she was doing this. And she was more mad that her family kind of turned on her. And, you know, it'll be almost to the point where it's like, hey, she's really losing her mind. She's like a serial killer. And we got to put her up. But she's not going to see it that way. She's going to see it as, oh, they turned me in. But I'm sure that's going to be like, we did what we thought was best for her. You know, she needed psychiatric help. And we did what we had to. But once again, they'll probably do a much better job of it next week than I can possibly think of.
What did John Vitti have to be thinking when he had her in the hallway? He said, you're going to Italy in 2 days, or else that's where I'm going to tell people that you went. In other words, you know, I'm going to kill you. And then later in the show, she's got him with the boss's wife. Wonder what it was going through his head. How did she flip the tables on him so quickly, you know?
He probably underestimated her, and he's probably thinking, I
much.
cannot underestimate, you know, her again, and especially if she's working with Oz now. He's got to figure out a way to take them down. You know, I think we're going to see him get taken out by them before they turn on each other. I think he's going to be, you know, probably the next one to go down. And then,
well, if it was up to him, you can tell he probably wants to run the family. It almost feels like he would prefer if he was the one in charge and just kind of do away with, you know, the rest of the Falcones and everything. It's pretty apparent that's what he's trying to do. He thinks he's a lot, you know, bigger and tougher than he actually is when he's a little more weaselly.
Yeah, you don't sleep with the boss's wife unless you have a pretty high, you know, status of yourself within there. He definitely, you know, because he even said, you know, he's the boss of the family now. You know, he left it open-ended that someone could take. Now, he's foreshadowing Oz's taking over of the Falcone family. You know, all the mobs probably in Gotham, but he was thinking himself.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, guys? Should we rate this wonderful episode of The Penguin?
I think so.
Sure. I'll follow tradition and I'll start. Excellent show, excellent episode. At the very first, the flashback part, um, I kind of didn't like it at first. I was like, how long are they going to go into this? They didn't go into it very long, but just enough to prove the point. And then I got over it. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe I was just in a negative frame of mind, but it all worked. And I love the way, like, he took him out to dinner, and he was treating him like, not only just like a son, but like a partner, like a full partner. The only thing, like, he always wants him there unless Sophia doesn't want him there. Like you're coming with us tonight. You're driving, and then she's like, no, you stay here. And he's like, all right, let's stay here. He wants him around. I think that's a great dynamic between those two characters. I think his speech to Sophia at the end there was incredible. I love the Sophia character. She's blowing me away when either of those two are on screen. It's just amazing, and they're just doing such a great job with this show. It's like Andor level. I mean, I'm gonna give this show again a 9. Just because I'll take the point 5 off just because of that beginning that I had a problem with. But overall, it's a fantastic show, and it's been fantastic. To me, that might have been like that one moment, the X-Men animated, X-Men '97 animated series, where they had half the show on something that was like, what
Are you talking about Motendo, the greatest 15 minutes of animated television ever created?
I am talking about that. Yes, that was so that was the only detractor for me, but I got over it, and it all factored into the story, and just the fact that he let what was probably in his life the love of his life go for this life he's gonna have, because he knows Oz has got his back. Even if he really doesn't, he feels like he does. He's like, we're tight. We're going to be the unit. And that's why he came back. So he didn't say he's going to. No, I'm not going to say that. So I gave it a 9. So I'll pass the baton on to Doug.
I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm loving the series. I I actually did appreciate that flashback scene. I like that. It's these little nods. They're not, like I said, they're not shoving the Batman down your throat. They're not like constantly reminding you, hey, this takes place in the world of the Batman. Did you know Batman? Hey, what about Batman? It's like those little hints and everything there. And I love the fact that there were, as Keith put it earlier, there are consequences to what happened. This isn't like, an episode of the animated series or any other Batman movie where the villain does something bad, but then everything is back to normal in the next movie or in the next issue or whatever. And it's like, there's no repercussions, there's no lasting effects. This, we're finally seeing lasting effects from what happened. The Riddler blew up all of those, flood walls and let all the water rush in. It is, killed a ton of people. As we find out from Vic and his girlfriend, their families were killed, their houses are underwater, their school is underwater. Everything is not going well for them, and the fact that Vic kind of managed to weasel his way into, or I guess get noticed enough by Oz to be his, sort of right hand, and as Dave put it, almost like his partner now at this point. It's lucky for him, and I think he sees that this is really, regardless of what he said, like, oh, my dad wouldn't be proud of me. Regardless of that, I think he knows this was kind of my destiny. This is where I was headed. This is my life. I'm going to embrace it. She's my past. She's going to get on the bus. She's going to go and do her thing. But this is my life now. I need to accept it. This is, what I'm doing. And I really appreciate, like, all of the character development that they're doing in this show, because it is going throughout each one of the episodes. We're getting a little bit more from each one of the characters. We're learning more about Sophia and how her mind works. We're learning more about what was going on in Gotham. I like the fact that we find out in this episode that her brother had almost nothing to do with this whole drug deal with Bliss. Come to find out, it was pretty much all Sophia's idea because they were giving it to the patients in Arkham. So she knew how powerful of a drug it was and what a psychoreactive it was. And so for us to find out, okay, she's definitely way smarter than, we might have pegged her for. To find out that, Oz, he almost sees like a Vic as like a surrogate son in a way. He treats him as much. He's like, hey, I'm going to make sure you have money. I want to make sure you have a good life. It's almost like he's looking at him like, I want you to have all the things that I didn't get a chance to have back when, I was a mobster's driver or something like that. I'm going to make sure you're well taken care of. I'm going to treat you more like a partner, less like, a servant or whatever. And we kind of see that difference in how Sophia treats Oz. And yeah, granted, part of it is from the fact that she feels betrayed by him, but she also looks down on his apartment. Oh, it's tacky. She, at the club when she says, I don't know who's more excited about this, me or you, and he's like, well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited. I'm very happy for you. I want this for you. And she's like, just keep in mind, remember, you're the driver. I'm the one making the deal. And it's like, oh shit. See, she looks down on him, looks down on his apartment. He doesn't do that with Vic. And I like that. I like that little bit of dynamic between the two that shows us how their characters are different. And I really appreciate what this show is doing with this. I appreciate the fact that, I want to keep going back and I want to watch more. I love that it's got these water cooler moments that are making us talk. I love the fact that an episode ended and my mouth is, like, I cannot believe that just happened. Is it Sunday yet? I need to see the next episode. That's how I want to feel about TV. That's what these shows should be doing. And they have the possibility, they have the capability of doing that. We've seen plenty of good shows that are making us say, oh my gosh, is the next episode out yet? So I got to give this, I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to give it an 8.5. It is excellent. Don't get me wrong. I'm loving it. I just don't know if it's quite at 9 for me.
See, I have no problems giving this a 9. Little things like this, all the way he treats Vic all goes back to that opening monologue he had before he killed Sophia's brother. When he was like, this guy was in our town, he knew everybody's name, he talked to him, and he was like, you think that's how you should be? Man, you're an idiot, and it started this whole thing. That's how he thinks, people should treat everybody, and that's why he treats Vic not only like a partner, but like he's somebody. You treat everybody that way, It's, people, you don't treat the janitor any differently than you treat the, CFO and things like that. And he believes that, and you see that where you're right. Sophia's like, yeah, you're a driver. You can stay, yada, yada. She's not seeing the big picture, and I think that's where that's going to, at the end of this, bring people into the Penguins fold. They're going to want to work for him because of the way he treats them. He treats them better than any other mob boss as long as you do what needs to be done,
Yeah, you don't mess up.
You mess up, you're going to be sitting in a grave for a couple minutes. But everything about this, it was so great. The character development we got with Vic throughout this episode, but that wasn't all we saw. We also saw them working with the triads and getting this new drug and all the things that came out with the Maronis coming on the end. They are seamlessly weaving this tale together and making it just, must-see TV. I was the same as Doug. When this episode ended, I was just like, dang it. I was hoping for at least 10 more minutes or something. I was hoping for 5 minutes. I was hoping for a minute. I'd take a morsel. That's all I want is another morsel. And, it just keeps getting better. I mean, every episode is building on the last. Things are happening. It's going to get even, crazier from here because Oz is not making friends outside of Vic anywhere else in this city. So it's only going to get harder for him, more crazy, and I cannot wait to see it all. And that's why I'm going to give this episode a 9.2. It is definitely the best comic book show we've gotten in years. And I never would have thought it. Once again, you make a show about a villain, you don't include that, the hero. Doesn't have a great track record in, the comic book live action stuff. But this is just, they had a great story to tell, and they are capitalizing on it. And we're all the better for it.
Well, we know how this is going to have to end with, Bane walking up to Penguin and saying, it's a pretty crazy city. I think it has something to do with that Batman guy. Me and you and some other folks should team up and do something about it.
We should form a legion or something. And then Kite Man flies in. Hey guys, hell yeah!
If they get Michael Keaton to play Bane, asking the Penguin for a team up at the end of this, it's a 10. I will. I'll get the 4K Blu-ray edition of this wonderful show, and I will never stop watching it. It'll be on repeat in my house 24/7.
You see,
Dad, I'm about to graduate. Are you coming to my graduation party? Shush! Bane's about to talk to Bane.
See, that's my only solution to wanting more. Just start it over again. Watch it again. Because it's been so good.
Well, should we find somebody to raid?
It's a raid.
It's a raid.
Well, while you all are looking for somebody to raid, I just want to go ahead and let you all know about a little bit of news that I found out about. Thought you might find interesting. So let me ask you gentlemen, do you like you like comic books, right?
Yeah, I like comic books.
Uh-huh. You like stories about the Asgardians, like Thor, Loki, Odin.
Yeah, Hemdell.
Pretty cool to see maybe like a TV show.
They're generally entertaining.
Yes.
Sound like it might be a little entertaining. What if I told you that there was guaranteed, this is not a rumor, guaranteed that we're going to see a comic book TV show with Thor and Loki and Odin in it, and it's Sandman season 2 on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Really?
We Sandman season 1 here, so it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Netflix released. Say that again.
The first season of Sandman was great. When is it coming out?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Yeah. So this is actually going to take place with like the next arc in the comics, and the idea behind this, I'll give like a real brief rundown. And maybe we'll do, I might want to do like a back issue breakdown of this, but the idea is Lucifer leaves hell, as he does in the Lucifer TV series. That was where that came from. It was originally a spinoff of the Sandman, and everybody is trying to claim it, including Odin, Thor, and Loki, because they think by claiming hell they can prevent Ragnarok. But guess who has the key? Morpheus.
I like it.
And so it sounds like it's going to be, an incredible season. And oddly enough, guess who they got to play Loki?
Tom Hiddleston.
No, that would have been funny. No, they actually got what's his name from House of the Dragon, who plays the Queen's brother.
From House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon. You remember how they were marching off to war, and he's like, how dare you? You were messing around with my sister, and then he's like, dude, I just saw a guy turn to ash. And they both sit down together at the end. That dude.
Oh, I could
He's
see
an actor
that.
by the name of Freddie Fox.
He would do good at that.
Yeah.
You know what I seriously thought you were talking about after you started going on? There is a Netflix animated series called Twilight of the Gods.
Oh yeah.
By Zack Snyder.
Oh. Oh God.
I thought that's what you were talking about. So
No,
I
I
am
didn't hear about that.
so incredibly pleased to know it's about Sandman season 2.
I don't think we'd be promoting anything by
So,
Zach unless he really puts out a really good movie.
so Netflix is still working with him, huh?
Yeah.
That's a choice.
Yep. We're gonna be getting that second director's cut for Blood Moon. What are you still doing up, buddy boy?
You know,
can you
I
guys-
never even
It's
watched.
not my birthday yet, dude.
Yo, can you guys comment happy birthday in the chat for my dad? It isn't his birthday, but it's tomorrow.
It
You
is
guys
tomorrow,
comment
yes.
Happy birthday in the chat.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Can I
Please
get a hug?
I say happy birthday.
Are you gonna buy me a
okay.
MetaQuest?
All right.
Yeah.
The sponsor of this
Actually,
stream.
I hope you. I think I might give you all the money in my wallet. I'm joking.
Did you do your reading yet, buddy?
No, I think I did.
Okay, thank you. He didn't. But all right, let's find someone to raid since I obviously have to go upstairs and get my son to read his homework. Let's see. Oh, Bubble is on playing Silent Hill 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that too. She got 894 people.
Holy cow, 906
Wow. It's a lot of people. Holy molies.
people. She's definitely going to be happy we came.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
let's be 4 of them.
We should. I know what we should do. Listen, I got it, guys. We should let her know that there are cheap viewers at this URL that we got earlier. That'll show her. But all right, we're about to raid Bubble. For those of you on YouTube, this is something we do on Twitch, where we send all of our viewers to someone else that we like and respect. And that they don't do that on YouTube, so we are going to say goodbye. We will be back Thursday night talking about episode 5 of Agatha.
Yay.
We'll be back, I think, next Monday, as long as our schedules all work out, to talk episode 4 of The Penguin. We got Venom, The Last Dance, coming up in a few weeks. We got a few more episodes of each of these, and then we'll be diving back into our Anime for Beginners series, which I think everyone's looking forward to. But thanks again for coming out. If it's your first time here, please subscribe and like. If you're on YouTube, please follow us, subscribe on Twitch. If you got the money and you like us that much, we understand if you just follow. But once again, thanks everybody. We will see you guys Thursday night. Peace out.
Hey fellow nerds, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you check out our Twitch stream. We try to do these live Sunday or Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep an eye on our social media to find out when you can join in live and chat with us during these live streams. Also, as usual, don't forget to check out our other social media. Add us at Twitter, comment down below, and we'll see you next time right here on Not Your Status Quo.